Hello and welcome to NAB2025. My name is Andres Serrano. I'm part of the Qimera team. Chimera is a virtual production system based on the latest version of Unreal Engine, which is 5.5. However, Chimera is a very easy to use system and it's also very affordable. So if you know how to use a mouse and a keyboard, you're ready to do virtual production with Chimera. So let's jump right in. If you see here, we have the first module that you will see is our shadows and reflections. We have a camera that's tracking the area. So anywhere I go, I have a shadow. So it's very different from most of other systems that when they're doing the composition, you see that the talent is floating around. So most of the time they just cut the feet off in order to hide that. But in this case, we have our shadows and we also have our reflections. So as I go down here, you can see my hands, my fingers, all of it reflecting on the floor because this is a very reflective surface. So that's being done with our shadows and reflection module. Also, we're able to bring any of the graphics that we have in our library. And we have over 100 graphics for politics, sports, business. We have a lot of graphics in the library. So in this case, you see we have one here that we can change all the data in the graphics. We can change the text, the font, the colors, the images. They can be done in pre-production or they can be done actually on the fly. So I can have my assistant change the name of Alexa Perlman. He can change the name on the fly without having to stop the composition. And he can change the name of Alexa and put someone else's name on it. So as you see here, he's going to be doing that and then he's going to trigger it without having to interrupt the composition. That's very important. Here we go. He just changed the name just like that. So this is something very important because you don't have to interrupt the composition to do any changes into our graphics. Also notice that as I move around, I cast my shadow onto the graphic. So see here, you see my body casting a shadow onto the graphic. So that adds realism to the storytelling. Now, the next module that we're going to show you is our flight cam. So this is done with a camera that's not being tracked. Got to get out of the way. So, but keeps everything else within the composition just like we do with our track camera. So you see that we have our reflections onto the hood and also our shadows. So again, the same thing as you do with a track camera, but in this case it's with a trackless camera. Okay, now we are able to bring into this composition any virtual walls anywhere. So in this case, we can have a virtual wall where we can have a conversation with a reporter in the field. We can have our B-roll there, or we can actually bring another virtual screen and have, say, a meeting with someone remotely via Teams or any of the virtual meeting softwares available in the market. So in this case, I could have a conversation with him. But better yet, if that person happens to be on a green screen, we can actually bring him physically into the composition just like this. In this case, it's a video, but we can actually do have a conversation with someone here in our studio that we bring from somewhere else. So this is something very, comes handy where you have guests that can't make it to your studio, say, for example, in election settings where the candidates don't have time to go all the way to your studios, you can actually bring your studios to them. You can have a green and you can have that interaction as though they were in your studios. Okay, for sports, Chimera again has a battery of graphics and settings to do your sports. So we also have animations for those graphics. So as you're going to see here, we're going to be bringing in graphic over here. And then once we have the graphic in the scene, we can interact with those graphics, change the information via an Excel sheet or a JSON file, and that data can be updated all the time without having to interrupt the composition. Okay, so as you see here, we have three ways of bringing graphics into the system. The first one is you can have a designer in staff, and he or she can do the design, and we will help you bring it into Qimera. The second option is to go out into the marketplace and bring a graphic or a setting or map from there, and we will help you customize it. We'll even assist you in choosing that graphic on the marketplace. Or you can hire us and we can do it for you. Now, as you see here, this is a transition into our corporate environment. We are in a suite up in one of those buildings in front of Central Park, and we're doing our quarter presentation. So instead of having somebody talking and a PowerPoint next to us, we can actually bring graphics in, and these graphics, as I mentioned before, may be customized or may be updated digitally or dynamically by JSON stream or an Excel file. So for business presentation, Qimera is also your choice. Now here we have another module, which is our IPDMX module. This IPDMX takes over the lights in the studio based on the composition that you have. So in this case, if I move to my left, you're gonna see that I get more blue because there's more blue in the scene. And if I go to my right, you're gonna see that I turn more purple, pinkish, because there's more purple on that side of the studio or the side of the map. This can come handy when you're doing, say, stories about a volcano or a fire, and it enhances again your storytelling because the lights take on the environment that you find yourself in. So if you're talking about a fire, they will take the color of the fire. If you're talking about a volcano, etc., etc. Now for weather, Qimera has a full battery of weather elements ready to do your show. So in this case, we had a very nice sky, but suddenly we started talking about Las Vegas having a sandstorm, and you saw how everything became sandy. The lights in the studio with our IPDMX module became dimmer and yellowish. But now we're going back to Miami. Miami, it's a very nice sunny day, so the lights are very bright and there's no clouds. But in New York, there is a stormy day, or there's going to be a stormy day, and there's even lightning called for in the forecast. So when we're talking about lightning, the lights in the studio will flicker, and you also see raindrops coming down in the studio. So that's just to add realism to your presentation and your storytelling. But if you, for some reason, you want to continue to do your weather the same way it's always been done, you can still have one of our virtual screens in the back, and you can put your satellite images there, and you can cover your satellite image and your humidity and your wind and all that, just like the way you've always done it. So Qimera is very versatile in that sense. You can do whatever. I mean, you can do the more avant-garde stuff, or you can do the old school. It's fine. Now notice this, I have 3 different screens in the back. This is something that's very interesting. I can actually control Qimera from my tablet, my phone. So for example, I want to see a different screen here in the center. I want to see my live view multi-view. So here is my live view multi-view, and I can choose what I want on my left screen based on that multi-view. So here is, I chose the NAB show screen. So I can do video, NDI or SDI on any of those 3 walls. I can do any still. So it's very versatile. I can have whatever I want on my LED walls in the back. So I'm gonna have a still now on this center wall. So you see, I just changed to my Chimera logo. So besides that, I can also use this for advertising. Or if I'm presenting, for example, the price of oil, I can bring in an oil can, and I'm talking about the price of oil and the variations, etc. Or if we're talking about foreign exchange, I can bring a coin, such as here, and you see again my shadow right on the coin. So it adds realism to the composition and to the presentation. So I can take both of them out. I can also bring in information from Wall Street, for example. So how the stock behaved during the day. I can have that again be dynamic. It can go up and down during the broadcast. But also for advertising, I can bring, for example, for my customer, I can bring a scooter into the studio. Now, this is also a cost-saving feature, because to bring a scooter, to have it come into the studio, etc., it costs money. So this way, it looks just as real, and yet it's not as expensive. Furthermore, you can do sponsorship, and you can go to your advertisers without having to go to commercial break. So you can actually get more bang for your airtime. Okay, so we can also have mixed reality. So I'm going to show you, and I'm going to ask you to, for a minute, imagine that what you're seeing as the real, this door, etc., it's our actual studio. So as I walked into a real studio, I'm here in a real studio. We're talking about, the different news. We just finished the news, and now we're going to recap our sports. Especially, we're going to be talking about the basketball game that just finished. So we're going to go across into our basketball court that's right next to our real studio. So here I find myself in a basketball court to go over the results of the game that just finished. And we can do the rest of our sports section right from this basketball court. And we can we can switch basketball court to a baseball field, to a soccer field, to the gridiron, anything. We can do all kinds of sports from here, right next to a real set. And that, folks, is all for now. That's Chimera for you. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to answering any questions that you might have.